You're watching KPTS, Channel 8.
Production and broadcast costs for Sedgwick County Commission meetings have been underwritten by Sedgwick County. KPTS welcomes comments from the public on its broadcast of the County Commission hearings. Viewers are invited to write to County Commission Broadcast, KPTS, 320 West 21st Street, Wichita, Kansas 67203.
Good morning. I'm Christy Zukovich. Welcome to the August 5th Sedgwick County Commission meeting. We are glad you're joining us today. We do like to let you know about things going on around Sedgwick County. And first, we'd like to remind you that on Thursday, August 6th, will be our second budget hearing. And, of course, we invite you to come and participate if you would like to. It will be at 6 p.m. here in this room, the third floor of the main courthouse. And, again, we will have our second budget public hearing and leading up to our budget adoption on August 12th. If you cannot come to the public hearing, we do have an online public hearing that you are welcome to participate in as well, and that is at sedgwickcounty.org. And today, Commissioners, we have a pretty short agenda. We do have a presentation of an award for the Sheriff's Office, and we will have a presentation of the quarterly financial report. But I thought this morning, Commissioners, I'd just take a little break because I thought it was important that maybe we have a little acknowledgement of Kaiser Carlisle. And if you remember, he's the little bat boy from this weekend, the tragedy at our tournament. And a colleague of mine went to the game last night and brought this card. And I thought it was just a good reminder for us to think about Kaiser and the things that are really important. So lift him up, lift the players up, and all the country, we pray for them. So, Commissioners, how about if we open the meeting, Chairman?
Thank you very much, Christy. With that in mind, we'll open the meeting of the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners for August 6, 2015. Excuse me, August the 5th. Madam Clerk, first item.
Roll call. Oh, sorry. Invocation to be observed by a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Unruh.
Present.
Commissioner Norton.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Present.
Chairman Ransaw.
Present. Next item.
Consideration of minutes. Item A, regular meeting minutes of June 10th, 2015. Commissioner Unruh was absent.
Commissioners, what's the will of the board? Commissioner Peterjohn?
I'll move that we adopt the meeting minutes of June 10th, 2015.
I'll second. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Abstain.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Chairman Ransaw.
Aye. Next item.
Item B, regular meeting minutes of June 17th, 2015. Commissioner Peterjohn was absent.
Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes of June 17th, 2015.
I'll second that motion. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Abstain.
Chairman Ransaw.
Aye. Next item, please.
New business. Item C. Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office 2014 Silver Award from AAA Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, thank you for giving me a chance to appear this morning to present this award. I'm Jim Haney, Executive Vice President for Public Affairs for AAA Kansas. And I first want to acknowledge Troy Wells, who's sitting here with me. Troy represents the Kansas Department of Transportation, who assists us with the award program across the state of Kansas and helps us identify possibly deserving police and sheriff's departments for the award program. The award's purpose is to encourage communities to address local traffic safety issues in an effective and cost-effective way. Sedgwick County received points for participating in the highly successful Kansas Teen Seatbelt usage program known as SAFE in Valley Center, Goddard, Derby, Clearwater, and Cheney. It received points for work in the area of education with programs like DARE, senior centers, media for selective enforcement, and work with other senior programs in the county. The utilization of other traffic safety enforcement programs such as STEP, the DUI enforcement with check lanes, saturation patrols, cops on rails, and nighttime seatbelt enforcement, and work with the elementary and high school seatbelt enforcement efforts. In engineering, they've worked with the county engineers for traffic controls, and in emergency medical response programs such as TIM, Traffic Incident Management, and DDAX, which is the data-driven approach to crime and traffic safety with crime mapping to identify problem areas with extra patrols in those areas. Communities the size of Wichita is very difficult to win the award because they have to get more points than smaller communities do. But the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department is winning the award as one of only 7 sheriff's departments in the state of Kansas to receive the award this year. Proof of their strong, sustained efforts are in the results. Seatbelt usage for adults has risen from 83% in 2009 to 92% in 2013. Teen belt use has risen from 76 to 87% in the same period of time. Click-it-or-ticket citations have grown from 159 to 615, and accordingly, teen crashes have dropped from 272 to 212. Alcohol crashes have dropped from 99 down to 45. Alcohol arrests dropped from 1,053 to 602, and injuries have gone down from 580 to 515. And finally, fatalities have gone down steadily from 26 in 2010 to just 7 fatalities each of the last 2 years. Just a remarkable record, and we're very pleased to be able to present the 2014 AAA Kansas Community Traffic Safety Award to the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department. I'd like to call on Colonel Richard Powell to receive the award if I could.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Colonel Richard Powell. On behalf of Sheriff Easter and the women and men of the Sheriff's Office, and also our reserve deputies in the Reserve Bureau, we certainly do appreciate and acknowledge this reward or this award that we've received from the AAA organization. As mentioned, many programs that we have been involved in for many years now, and whether it be the SAFE program, the STEP program, Cops on Rails, the saturation patrols that we do on a regular basis throughout the county, and all the varied education programs we put on throughout our local communities. The facts purely do tell the truth that we have made reductions, significant reductions in all types of categories related to accidents and incidents involving impaired drivers, safe driving, the utilization of seat belts, and paying of appropriate attention to the particular road and driving laws in any given area. So again, we appreciate the acknowledgement of our efforts. We also thank Mr. Wells and KDOT for their acknowledgement, because we've had the opportunity to receive benefit from those programs that KDOT sponsors in the means of supplying enforcement tools and training for our deputies. So again, thank you on behalf of all the people within the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Chief Powell. Congratulations. We appreciate everything that you do. I think they want to get a picture here.
Yeah.
Photo.
I think we can.
Thanks again, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item D, presentation of the quarterly financial reports.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Rick Durham, your Deputy Chief Financial Officer. And at the end of each quarter, I try to multitask here, which I don't do very well. At the end of each quarter, the Division of Finance reports on the county's financial condition. The quarterly financial report provides an analysis of financial trends through the second quarter of 2015. And those are compared to the same time period from 2014, and the information contained in this report is based on the unaudited financial statements and excludes adjustments that may be required by the auditors at a later date. The report has been delivered to you and will be posted on the county's website for review. The first section of the report outlines financial information on a budgetary basis for applicable fund types, and includes comparisons of year-to-date and year-end financial activities within the previous fiscal year and the adopted and revised budgets. The second section of the report outlines financial status of active capital projects. The final section consists of fund statements which provide a broad overview of the county's finances in a manner similar to the private sector business, and those are based on GAAP principles, generally accepted accounting principles. Also included in are updated projections for the remainder of the budget year based on trends we see through the second quarter. That describes how the book is laid out, and what I want to do is just provide some highlights to you as we do at the end of every quarter, give some highlights of the report, and tell you what we see in the financial condition and what prognosis is for the rest of the fiscal year. Again, the report was not prepared by me, but the hard work is done by the budget department, and that's led by Lindsay Poe-Rousseau, and the accounting department, which is led by Sarah Jantz, and they're here present. I would use the pretty face comment, but I think we've worn that one out, and Commissioner Peter John doesn't agree. And so we begin with a slide that identifies projections of what we see the year-end revenues, expenditures, fund balances to be in the governmental funds, and these are categorized by group. So if we start on the left and we start with the general fund, and you can run down that column, you can see our revenues, then expenditures, which gives us our net income, our transfers, and then the net change in fund balance. Okay, so you notice there's a deficit of $4.187 million. Now, had we not done the one-time non-recurring grant to the zoo of $5.3 million, that change in fund balance would actually be a positive $1.1 million, just as a note. So our ending fund balance then in the general fund, it will be $60.31 million. So if we follow that chart across to the right, we can follow the debt service, and I draw attention to the ending fund balances The debt service fund will have a net change in fund balance of $1.65 million and an ending fund balance on a budgetary basis of $3.37. Other county funds that receive support from property taxes, the fire district fund, and then we roll all those up. And again, these are projections made as the end of the second quarter, ending June 30th, and they're projections of what we think our condition will be at the end of December 31st of this year. So we move from projections to actuals now, and we look at just the second quarter information for property tax funds, and that's those funds that receive the support of property taxes. At the end of the second quarter, we received $170 million in revenues, and that's just up slightly from the same period in 2014. Expenditures at the end of the second quarter in the property tax supported funds totaled $114.7 million, and that increase of $8.1 million or 7.6% year to date compared to the same period 2014. Again, I draw attention to that increase largely due to the one-time non-recurring payment to the zoo. So if we combine revenues and expenditures for the second quarter, revenues increased 0.2%, while expenditures increased 7.6%. This slide then shows the net income of the property tax supported funds of $55.3 million, down $7.7 million from last year. Again, the sharp decline is due to the one-time non-recurring expense to the zoo, and without that, the net income would have been $60.6 million, or a decrease of just $2.4 million. Here we show the 10 individual revenue sources that provided the greatest amount of funding for Sedgwick County government through the first half of this year. Ad valorem taxes, substantially the largest amount of taxes because of the are substantially the largest amount of taxes because of the timing of the tax and the collection cycle. So as you can see, through the second quarter of 15, in the second column, we received $120.7 million in property taxes, or an increase of 2.2%. Sales and use taxes are the second largest revenue source, and they have increased 3.1% over the prior year. Motor vehicle taxes, the third largest revenue source. And then after the top three, there's a fairly substantial drop-off in the amounts, and the total of all revenues for the second quarter, $170.01 million compared to $169.65 million from the same period last year. So moving from revenues to expenditures, our people are the most expensive single category of expense that we have in the county. So salaries and wages for the first 6 months of the year are $41 million, an increase of 3.3%. And that primarily is due to the class and comp pay pool. And as you recall, we did not have that in the first half of 2014. That was implemented in July of last year. Insurance premiums decreased 5.3%. And once again, I remind you that's because there are 27 postings this calendar year instead of 26, so that skews that percentage. Pension contributions continue to increase. And then total personnel costs through June 30th stood at $62.72 million, or 2.5% more than the same period in 2014. Continuing with expenditures. but no personnel cost involved in this slide. So you can see that grant awards, and that's funding that we provide to other agencies, typically nonprofits in the community to provide service on our behalf, represented the largest non-personnel expenditure that we incurred in the county, and that's a 54.4% increase. Now, as a note, the large increase there is this is where the $5.3 million for the zoo capital improvement program was accounted for. So if we discount that or take that out, that non-recurring item, there actually would have been a decrease of $200,000 in grant awards for the same period. So in total, non-personnel expenditures for property tax supported fund stood at $51.9 million, or an increase of $6.55 million, or 14.4%. We move now to non-tax special revenue funds for the second quarter. And in the same manner that we looked at the tax-supported funds, we'll look at these. We received $39.5 million in revenues, or a decrease of $500,000 from a year ago. Net expenditures, non-tax expenditures at the end of the second quarter were $41.4 million, and that's $2.7 million more than a year earlier. And I discussed last quarter that we attribute some of this to a better understanding of the way we're using the PPS system and the way we account for those expenditures. So if we combine those two, you can see that there is a decrease in revenue of 1.3% and an increase in expenditures of 6.9%. And here we have the top 10 revenues of the non-tax special revenue funds. Medicaid fees represent the largest revenue and the greatest source of revenue, an increase of $2.75 million. And the greatest change in these funds is in the state revenue of corrections, the 15.6%. That's actually not true. It's on the Medicaid fees. My apologies. The greatest change is actually on the last line there, the affordable airfares, the decrease of 88%. And as you recall, that was as a result of the way we collected the funds in the past. They paid us for 2 fiscal years because of the split, the difference of the state fiscal year versus the county's fiscal year. So here are the expenditures of the non-tax special revenue funds. Again, salaries and wages is the largest single source. The significant change in the economic development incentives is due to the timing of the way Southwest Airlines invoices us. And all expenditures in the non-tax special revenue funds then at the end of the second quarter are $41.4 million, or an increase of 6.9%. And we'll turn back to the general fund, and we look here at the total fund balance on a GAAP basis or a true accounting basis. So if you scan back and you look at the trend line, you can see that it follows a clear cycle of activity, and at the end of the second quarter of 15 stands at $104 million. So as you can see, we expect that to decrease as we go into the third and fourth quarter as we spend down the taxes that we've already collected. The county has a fund balance policy that says we expect general fund balances, undesignated fund balances, to be at least 20% of budgeted expenditures. And this chart shows that we've consistently remained well above that minimum threshold, and we ended the second quarter with undesignated general fund balance at 48% of budgeted expenditures, and that is consistent with the prior 5 years. We move now to the county's investment portfolio. This slide shows that portfolio, and at the end of the second quarter, the county has approximately $245 million invested, and that's represented here by the tan bars. You can identify the cash flow cycle by the fluctuation back, as you can see that trend. The solid blue line represents our investment or return on those investments. So it's just shy of 0.7%. The dotted line there is the benchmark, and that is based on the one-year Treasury bill rate. And at the end of the first quarter, you can see that there is an uptick in the benchmark, a slight uptick in our return. Our return is well above the benchmark. Again, it's a tough market conditions. That's just the nature of the economy that we're living in right now. Brandy Bailey manages our investment portfolio, and I think she does a pretty good job. Actually, she does a very good job in very tough conditions. This chart shows some significant capital projects, and again, all the projects are in the quarterly report. These are updated information here, and it shows that the jail master control system is substantially completed. That 135th Street will be complete October 2nd. 45th Street North from Webb to Greenwich is finished and open. Selected preventive maintenance, all projects are complete or under construction. Maple is to be completed August 10th. And the Big Ditch major maintenance and repair, all projects are complete. Now we look at some indicators of our financial condition. And what you see here is trend data that shows the county's financial condition for 2014. And this is the same data that was shown to you at the end of last quarter, so it's review. So as you can see, our liquidity, we have 141 days of cash on hand. Our flexibility is, the unrestricted general fund balance as a percentage of expenditures that was shown earlier. Our property value, our taxable value per capita, our direct debt per capita, then our debt burden, so debt service as a percentage of our general fund revenue, remains flat. And in our reliance on property taxes, the levy as a percentage of governmental fund expenditures is a slight up. What this chart does is compare Sedgwick County's information with our benchmark counties. And that is, we obtained that information from a GFOA database. And what we do is we take and look at the benchmark counties, and those are the 128 counties having a population of 250,000 to 750,000, so we're looking at generally the same population size, and that those counties that receive the GFOA CAFR award. So what we do is we compare our metrics against those benchmark counties, and as you can see, we measure up fairly well. The benchmark counties' liquidity, they have 119 days of cash on hand compared to our 141. Property values are an area of concern, and they have been, and we report that every quarter. Our direct debt per capita is much less than the benchmark counties. Our effective property tax rate is better than those benchmark, and again, our property tax reliance is also better than those benchmark counties. We move away from the county specific and we look at some economic indicators, and this information is from the Center for Economic Development and Business Research, and they compile leading indices that provide insight to the present and the future state of the Wichita economy. And the leading economic indicators is designed to give an indication of where Wichita economy is headed over the next 6 months. And as you see, there's a slight change in this chart as we've moved out. There's a flattening or a slight dip at the end there, and the index actually has deteriorated between April and May, and it continues to indicate that there may be a decrease in economic indicators, or a decrease in economic activity through the fall. And those are based on the leading indicators as measured. And the three of those that have declined primarily are the Aircraft Production Index, which is down 0.9%, the National Industrial Production Index, which also is down 0.2%, and then the International Leading Index, which is down 0.1%. So those are three of the indicators that the Center for Economic Development and Business Research use to come to this index. The outlook for the next 3 to 6 months, according to this trend, isn't necessarily the slow growth that we've witnessed in the past. This shows annual data of key metrics that we look at on a long-term basis. So this is annual data. So you can see our tax-based growth of 1.1%. Home sales are up. New home permits are relatively flat. The number of mortgages registered is down. Sales and use tax up slightly. And the unemployment rate, the trend is good. It's 4.8%. Here we look at the same data, but we compare it quarter to quarter. So if you look back on a quarterly basis, our home sales are actually down slightly for the quarter. Home permits down slightly. Mortgages registered up slightly. And then in the dip in sales and use tax, employment numbers are flat and unemployment numbers are up slightly or improved slightly. So to wrap things up, as we see some potential threats, obviously state programs are looking to fill the gap, like the vehicle title processing. The state budget, and honestly it's some of the unknowns regarding the state budget. You know, they project deficits, but there are still a lot of unknowns out there. The school finance is one of those. State legislation, the motor vehicle tax changes. And the local economy, the slower rate of recovery locally than nationally, and then the projection according to the leading indicators of a slowdown there. Sedgwick County is currently in sound financial condition. There are minor but persistent imbalances between our revenues and expenditures. There is increasing reliance on taxes to fund the government. Our 10-year focus has been increased efforts in public safety and public works, but decreased efforts in health and welfare and general government. Legislative action poses a threat to the financial condition of the county as it continues to struggle with its own finances, and the state poses a risk to our fiscal health. While revenues grow modestly, the cost of doing business continues to increase. So through the second quarter, our financial performance is consistent with what we expected to see. Our fundamentals continue to reflect a strong financial position. We have deficits projected in the future years. Our second quarter estimates are actually better than they were at the end of the first quarter. And our 10-year focus, again, is in public safety, public works, with decreased efforts in health and welfare and general government. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, and if there aren't any, I would ask that you receive and file.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Peterjohn?
Just a couple of quick sections. I was looking at the page 35 of the report on with this Interest Bank Arena, and wanted to get clearer understanding, because I didn't see a depreciation line on that chart, and I did notice on the overall balances from the enterprise, I think we were running about $154 million. Could you talk for a minute in terms of, kind of where we stand in terms of the asset value for the interest bank arena, our depreciation, where we're at, and also the ending fund balance that we've got? Since if that fund balance runs out, we're going to have to come up with an alternate revenue source for that facility. Unfortunately, we're still well into 8 figures, but it looks to me like it's shrunk a bit.
So I've been told from my accountant, if you refer to page 64 of the report, the accumulated depreciation there in the left-hand column, about maybe a third of the way down, $28,599,382.
Do you have any idea how much was for between second quarter this year and the second quarter last year? I mean, year over year, ballpark.
Feel free.
Good morning.
Good
Sarah
morning.
Jance, your accounting director. I will get back with you to clarify the amounts, but I believe annual depreciation is approximately $5 million.
$5 million.
So from year to year, it'd be about the same amount.
Okay.
Because we're not adding new assets or removing assets, it should. We do straight line. It should be consistent.
And it's on a straight line depreciation. Okay.
But I'll get those numbers for you when we get back to the office.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I right in terms of looking that there is a decrease in the ending fund balance for the arena sub-fund?
That's correct.
On page 35?
Yes.
Okay. Little, just a shade under $1 million. Okay. Thank you very much.
Rick, could you go back to slide 20? The debt burden there, debt service as percent of general fund, so we're at 14%, and compared to other counties, so we're a little higher than them.
A little, yes.
Okay. Now go to the next slide. So these leading indicators, they are starting to go downward, is that right?
That's what the information off of, now this again is from the Center for Economic Development and Business Research. It's the leading indicators that they measure.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is the chart, and this is what the data shows.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, our increase, our growth in assessment this year was less than we expected, and was less than last year. I think it was from 2.2 down to 1.5 or something, or roughly like that. Does that sound? So are we concerned? I mean, should we be concerned? There's usually a delay in some of this stuff, how it affects us. Usually there's a decline, and then it takes us a little while. Are we? So is this something we should be concerned about as we move forward?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's why we show this information. This is a projection based on indicators in the economy.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we receive and file the report.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Chairman Ransall.
Aye. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Item E, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on July 30th, 2015.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Chris Cronus, your Chief Financial Officer, standing in for Joe Thomas. Item number 1 on the bid board agenda is for various four-wheel drive trucks for fleet management. This consists of 3 groups of vehicles. The first group is 4 1/2-ton four-wheel drive extended cab trucks. The recommendation is to award the purchase to the low bidder, Eddie's Ford, in the amount of $148,310. The second group of vehicles is one half-ton four-wheel drive extended cab truck with short bed. The recommendation is to award the bid to the low bidder, Davis Moore Automotive Incorporated, in the amount of $35,109. The third vehicle in this group is a one-ton four-wheel drive crew cab truck. The recommendation is to award to the low responsive bidder, Rusty Eck Ford, in the amount of $42,324. All of these vehicles are to be used as replacements for Public Works, and the surplus will be sold on Purple Wave. Item number 2 is a four-wheel drive utility bed fire squad truck for Sedgwick County Fire District number 1. The recommendation is to award to the low responsive bidder, Rusty Eck Ford, in the amount of $75,914. This also is a replacement vehicle, and the surplus will be sold on Purple Wave. Item number 3 is ADA playground and parking lot improvements at Lake Afton Park for the Facilities Department. The recommendation is to accept the low responsive bid from Barclay Construction in the amount of $257,000 and establish unit pricing for additional parking lot work at the rate of $8.50 per square foot. Item number 4 is 4 2015 Dodge Chargers for fleet management for use by the Sheriff's Office. The recommendation is to award the purchase to Davis Moore Automotive pursuant to State of Kansas contract number 39791 in the amount of $92,552. Once again, these are replacement vehicles, and the surplus will be sold on Purple Wave. Item number 5 is 8 2015 Ford Fusion Hybrid S vehicles for fleet management to be used by the Sheriff's Office. The recommendation of bid board is to award the purchase to Shawnee Mission Ford Incorporated pursuant to State of Kansas contract number 39706 in the amount of $184,328. These vehicles would be new vehicles, additions to the fleet, and subsequent to the bid board meeting last week, there has been further discussion about this particular procurement, and it is the recommendation of the fleet manager, staff of the Sheriff's Office, and me that instead of taking the action recommended by the bid board, that you refer this item back to bid board for further consideration. Item number 6, Cox optical internet upgrades to be located at 510 North Main Street and 714 North Main Street. The recommendation is to accept the quote from Cox Business for a 5-year total of $241,000. Item number 7 is change order number 3 for the time and labor management system for the Finance Department. Specifically, this is for the telestaff scheduling system that is to be implemented in public safety departments, fire, sheriff, corrections, and 911 communications, with some ComCare staff also using the application that will be installed for 911 communications. And the recommendation is to accept the change order from Kronos Incorporated in the amount of $76,301.72. That is the extent of the recommendations from bid board meeting of last week, and I would recommend that you take the recommended actions, including the adjustment of recommendation that I cited on the Ford Fusions, item number 5.
Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contracts with the exception of item 5, which we refer back to the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Chairman Ransall.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Holt, Acting County Manager. You have the consent agenda items F through O. Move your approval.
What's the will of the board?
Or recommend approval, sorry.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, call the vote, please.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Chairman Ransah.
Aye. Next, we have legislative issues, and I don't think we have anything particular. I know staff is looking at some of the budget stuff to analyze what impact it will have on us at this time, and we're still doing that research, right?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank. Next, we'll move to the other portion of our meeting. And Ron, I have a question for you about. There was an editorial yesterday about the Law Enforcement Training Center that I need some clarification on, because it talks about in here that the city didn't have any input in the RFP, and it says it's disconcerting that the county managers are going through their own RFP process, and I'm a little confused because I thought that we were doing this on behalf of the city and county. Everyone had been working on it, had meetings together and everything. Do you have any information that you could provide to us to clarify what's going on here?
You are correct, Mr. Chairman. I, too, was surprised at a portion of that statement. I've asked Steve Clausen, who's been our project leader on this, and working with all of the stakeholders, including the city, to come and give us just a little outline of what's been going on and when. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Steve Clausen, Facilities, Fleet, and Parks Director. Thank you, Christy. Yes, this timeline that I've put together is limited to the recent activity of the ongoing city-county cooperation discussions and work product, putting together now a county-led proposal solicitation that will satisfy our mutual needs for a new and expanded law enforcement training center. Before I talk about the guts of the specific dates, I'd just like to make reference to the timeline itself is based on the several years of work with Wichita Police Department and Sedgwick County Sheriff, putting together a program defining what their needs are, defining the space sizes, the parking needs, the adjacencies, that kind of thing. So we've got that work product. This timeline relies very heavily on that. So with respect to the RFP, the timeline, I think, begins on the 14th when meeting taking place at the City Building with Commissioner or Chairman Ransah, Chair Pro Tem Peterjohn, Mayor Longwell, and Vice Mayor Clendenin took place. And the outcomes of that meeting were that it was agreed that the Law Enforcement Training Center was the #1 priority for city-county project. Chairman Ransah suggested in that meeting that the county lead an RFP process on behalf of both city and city PD and the sheriff. And the Mayor Longwell agreed in that meeting to speak on that topic to the city manager. Then on June 11th, a subsequent meeting at the county courthouse. Attendance was Chairman Ransah, Chair Pro Tem Peterjohn, Mayor Longwell, Councilman Meitzner. And in that meeting, it was indicated by the city electeds that the city would support that county-led RFP process for the Law Enforcement Training Center. Then we had a meeting, it was city and county staff at the county courthouse building on the 17th, where myself as facilities director, Tanya Cole, our project services manager, Joe Thomas, our purchasing director, representing the city was Denise Peters, who is their project leader for this project over several years, and Ricky Stubbs, who is the facilities top person at the city. And in that meeting, again, we agreed that we already had this work product that the police and sheriff had processed together and that we didn't need to revisit that would again be the foundation of this request for proposal. We did delegate the work a bit, recognizing that the city had really been the leader over the last several years coordinating the program. They agreed, we mutually agreed that they would look at that program a final time, readjust it, and refine it as needed. And then the county would take care of the administrative functions of the RFP, developing the language and defining the process that would be used. And then finally, we would we would send that document, that draft document, out for both city and county stakeholder review. On July 16th, we did receive the edited program from city staff. On that same date, the mayor was notified that the draft should be expected to be received, sent to him on the 27th of July for the city stakeholder review. On the 21st of July, we sent out kind of a preliminary document to our county stakeholders for their review and comment. And on July 28th, the morning of July 28th, we sent that draft RFP to the city stakeholders for their input and reference. So the next steps, the draft that we've all been looking at proposes these two dates. They're subject to adjustment. We indicated that if more time was needed on the city's behalf that we could extend these, but the working dates that were in that document are August 5th today, asking for their feedback on the document, and then we were hoping that on Friday of this week we could put that out for public notice, public distribution. So that's the timeline. If you have any other questions, I'd try to answer them.
No, I appreciate that. That puts me at ease a little bit. I know I can't necessarily believe everything I read in the editorial, but I was concerned. And when I was under the impression that we were working together on this all along, I wanted to make sure that was in fact the case. And I appreciate you clarifying all that. And all the hard work I know that you put in, and as well as the staff over at the City of Wichita, we appreciate it. So this is our #1 priority, and we're going to move forward and get this issue addressed, and I appreciate it. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can someone tell me when was the project identified as a need in Sedgwick County? I understand, I read, I heard 1999. Is that correct? This has been going on since then?
I don't have an exact date. I can say that it's been going on for several years. So 99 wouldn't be a surprising date, because the initial deal was to work with the National Guard.
Okay.
And really, initially, the fire departments were involved. And then the fire departments went their own way for good reason. We went through a lot of changes with what's happening with the federal government, and so the National Guard piece was delayed. And so, again, I don't have an exact date, Commissioner Howell, but it would not be, I don't think that would be out of reason to say.
Okay.
It's been that long.
I just would like to make a few comments about this. When we have a lot of people involved in trying to find the right answer to a problem without a process, it's hard to know, do you have all the best options? Do you have the best options in front of you, and should you do that as the solution or not? When you pick one building at a time, I think it creates a difficulty in knowing whether that's the right thing to do or not. So an RFP, a request for proposal, gets all the options on the table side by side. You can see the merits of each project or each proposal side by side, including the costs of those different choices. It allows all the stakeholders, I believe, to weigh those options against our needs and the costs of those various options, and allows us to make a decision to move forward. And I think what the RFP process is going to do is going to find a resolution to this finally. And I looked at the tag office as an example. The Murdoch Tag Office is one of those that I understand has been desired by Sedgwick County to find a replacement facility for that for 17 years. And this year we issued an RFP to find a space. There was a number of options that came to us, all of which I think were very interesting and would have provided a good option for the county. And we are working through the process of down selecting and negotiation on that right now. But we're going to deliver a solution, and I believe in the near future, I would expect in 2016 or near 2016. And so the disappointment by the community that we're not we're not solving the problem, and we seem to continue to flounder around the issue. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. To flounder around the issue and not really find a solution that we can all agree on, I think, is resolved with the RFP process. And when I talked with staff about RFP for the tag office, it was is a revolutionary idea to use this process to down select onto a building. We use this for equipment all the time, but to use the process for a facility has something that the county has not done in the past. I just want the community to know that we are honing in on the answer. This is going to be solved very soon. And we've actually put money in our 2016 budget for this purpose. And if that's not the right amount of money, well, I'm sure we will find other funds, or we'll plan for whatever the monies are needed to finally solve this problem. And I understand the building they have right now has got tremendous problems. I completely agree. We do have to solve the problem. And so what the RFP process is going to do is it's going to deliver a solution rapidly so we can move on. And so I'm excited. The community should be excited. This is the way for us to finally solve the problem. And rather than talking about a Cessna building on 21st Street or Southeast High School or possibly JRBR facility at Lake Afton and other number of buildings have been presented, we can't seem to come to terms on whether these are the best options. And so the RFP process puts these things side by side and allows us to say this one's the best reason. Through a voting process or down select process, we can actually deliver the answer. So I'm excited about finally solving this problem. If it's been going on since 1999, we've lived with this problem long enough. It's time to get it fixed. And I think this RFP process, with coordination with the city, with their input and with their agreement, we're going to have the answer before us very soon. And I think that's the positive message I would like people to know. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Peter John.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I throw out to Commissioner Howell, and when I became a commissioner in 2009, this is one of the issues that was brought before me, and I was told that it actually had preceded the horrible events on the September 11th, 2001. So I know it goes back quite a ways. In terms of exactly how far back, I don't know, but I do very much appreciate the presentation from staff to update, because I did participate in a couple of meetings, and I thought they were productive, and from both the city and county side trying to work together, and the two that I participated in. Of course, I wasn't at the most recent one, but I think there was a feeling that for the city and the county that this was at the top of our list of things we were going to try and get done in the not too distant future. And considering how long this has been out here, Mr. Chairman, I think that would be a significant step in the right direction, because the existing facility has a lot of problems, and I'm not going to go into that at this time, but we do need a replacement. So I wanted to throw that into the discussion this morning.
Commissioner Norton.
The first meeting I went to about the Heartland Preparedness Center, which it was the beginning of this, was 1999, and later in the year after the tornado, when I was still mayor. Adjutant General Greg Gardner had visited with me about his viewpoint of a regional preparedness center that brought together National Guard, local jurisdiction agencies, sheriff, police, fire. The Highway Patrol was originally in on this, the Marines, some other Air Force reservists. I mean, it was a big thought process that we would create a regional preparedness training center that brought all the first responders in a catchment area together to build a national presence for the Midwest, maybe 13 states, to do training, and then for us to have a local presence for any kind of event that might happen, whether it be natural or man-made. And since then, the vision has denigrated down to, let's try to find a building just for law enforcement. And I think in my mind it's sad that we didn't go ahead with that grander vision that would have made us a national hub for homeland preparedness and training, not only law enforcement, but all the agencies that need to work together. And I bought into it very early because as an elected official that's been through a natural disaster, not man-made, but natural, in fact, a couple of them, because I was also mayor when the DeBruce grain elevator blew up. I kind of went through that whole process. The time to hand out business cards is not 2:30 in the morning in the basement of your city building. You need to work together, train together, understand each other's protocols, know the key players, because disasters need first responders on the ground that have worked together, trained together, understand each other's protocols instantly. And for me, I'm sad that we lost that grander vision and we're now down. Now, we'll serve the public very well and serve our law enforcement agencies well with the end product, but the grander vision got lost somewhere, and I'm sad for that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Peterjohn, anything else for other?
Yes, indeed. I'm going to change topics entirely from where we're at, because August 5th was an important day in American history, and one of the most famous phrases on August 5th, 1864, during the last major naval battle of the Civil War, Union Admiral David Farragut was involved in the Battle of Mobile Bay and led the ships in there and came up with the phrase, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," and made that statement in the successful attack on 2 Confederate forts and a variety of Confederate vessels that were defending that harbor. But August 5th was also significant. In 1861, the federal government levied their very first income tax in the state. In 1884, the cornerstone for the Statue of Liberty was laid. And on a much lighter note, and one that show that I remember fondly for the younger generation, they may not recall it, but August 5th, 1957, American Bandstand with Dick Clark, hosted by Dick Clark, debuted on national TV. So August 5th is a significant, important day in American history, and wanted to get that on the record, Mr. Chairman. If we're finished with other, I do have another motion, because we do have an executive session.
Yes, is there anything else for other commissioners? Seeing none, we'll now move to the executive session. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session for 30 minutes to consider consultation with legal counsel on matters privileged in the attorney-client relationship relating to pending claims and litigation, legal advice, contract negotiations, personnel matters of non-elected personnel, and the Board of County Commissioners return to this room from executive session no sooner than 10:35 a.m.
I'll second that motion. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Chairman Ransoff.
Aye. We'll now move to executive session. We're now back from executive session and no binding action was taken. Mr. Manager, is there anything else to come before the commission?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
All right.